Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Witch of Bees and Bones. I just got back yesterday from Brooklyn. I was gone over the weekend helping a loved one move, so I got to spend some time there, which was always fun. But I wanted to sit down today and discuss some of what I consider natural artifacts in my collection. A lot of people have asked about some more of the bones that I have, and I figured that I would do like some bones and some what I call natural artifacts. Hornets nest, stones, snake skins, kind of that kind of thing. And we can go from there. I like to have these things around me. As you all know by now, I'm a nature witch, so nature calms me and soothes me and heals me and sustains me in a lot of ways. And because I can't always be out in the woods, I like to have things around me that remind me of nature. Um, I will preface this by saying I never ever kill anything to get anything I have here. Um, I, I would never kill an animal for its skin or its bones or anything. That's not my deal. I don't. I don't, and I won't. So I it's important that I say that. A lot of people make a lot of assumptions, so I wanted to be clear from the jump that that's not how I operate. I know that there are a lot of people that do. I will say, and I said in one of my prior bone videos that I don't typically purchase bones, and when I do, I make sure it's from an ethical seller, and I try to either get items that are found, meaning, they came upon the bones in the woods, or that it's an older specimen, and part of an older collection. And that way I do that so that newer animals aren't killed to feed the bone industry, so to speak, because vulture culture and bone collecting has become very popular. Part of me is very excited about that. Part of me I get a lot of folks know that I collect bones, so they'll send me listings, and I'll open up the listing, and there'll be like 20 deer skulls, and there will be, or 20 raccoon skulls, or 20 coyote skulls, or whatever. And I was like, okay, those aren't found, and there's a huge number of animals in that picture, which means you're killing animals for whatever reason, in great numbers. And I just, nobody's eating a coyote. Um, I I don't love the idea of hunting. I would not hunt. I do not hunt. I will not hunt. I do know people that hunt ethically. They use every part of the animal. They have reverence for the animal. It helps feed their families. Um, they are very mindful of what they do. Again, it's not my practice. It's not something I want to do, but I have respect for that. If you're just killing things to make money in this day and age, for pelts or skulls or parts, I don't have a lot of respect for that, and it's not something I'll participate in. So I will keep an eye on sellers. If they have something that I like, I'll see how often they have certain things. And if they don't have something very often, or they have a picture of it, which is even better for me, if they have a picture of it like unclean, kind of in situ in the forest where they found it, that makes me really happy. Because I don't want to be part of the consumerism of animal parts, which sounds weird to a lot of people, but it exists. You can look on Etsy, and you can just look up like raccoon skull or coyote skull, and you'll see listings where there'll be dozens that you can choose from, which means they're killing a lot of these animals. Those aren't found. I find bones in the woods a fair amount. In my entire life, I've never found 20 deer skulls. I've never found, 20 raccoon skulls. I've never found 20 coyote skulls, never mind all at once to sell. So I'll now step down off of my soapbox, but that's just something that's really important to me that I get out there as far as my standards go. So I'm going to just start over here. This is a bald-faced hornet's nest. So I wouldn't take this away from bald-faced hornets. I wouldn't relocate hornets. They can rebuild a nest in a season. They don't reuse nests. So I wait till several frosts have occurred, which means most of them have either, the queen will overwinter, typically under bark in the woods, and the rest actually typically die off. So I wait for everything to be empty, both because I don't want to take their home, and for safety. Not that I've ever been stung by one, because I just haven't been, but I just think they're really beautiful. This one I actually found in my, turn it around here, and it's just made out of this paper. And they make this with their mouths. Like, that's bananas to me. Their mouths and their legs, but the paper itself. This one came out of my propane tank. I noticed it late this fall, waited for a couple more frosts to happen, and then kept checking on it. And this is only like a chunk of it. You can see part of it was I left just because, but this part came out, and it's just really lovely. And it's just, I could pull it apart, but there's another layer under here that you can see. And so I have a smaller piece on my altar. This kind of takes up a lot of real estate, and I also typically have candles on my altar, or Palo Santo burning. And so I paper, fire, probably not stellar. But this is something that I keep near one of my altars. This is one of those things I consider like a sacred or a sacred natural artifact, because I find it beautiful. It reminds me of nature. It reminds me of bald-faced hornets, which I love so much. I just think they're really beautiful little creatures. So there's that. The next piece I have here, this tiny, tiny little thing. There's some dust on it. I apologize. I need to give it a bath. So this little tiny skull is, I'm curious what everybody thinks this is. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to look at this, and then put in the comments what you think this is. So this is my finger. It's a mammal, and it's kind of found all over the place. It's a very common animal, but that doesn't mean will see it a whole lot. Okay, I'm going to tell you now. This is a skunk skull, and they've got gnarly little teeth. Look at those things. Again, these skunks primarily eat bugs and grubs and snails and slugs and things like that. So even though the teeth look kind of, brutal, they're often used to like crush, snail shells or something like that. I love skunks. I think they're darling. I think they get a bad rap. They don't want to spray any more than you want to smell it, because then they end up smelling like that. And they have a great sense of smell, by the way. But it's kind of their only self-defense. I've been around skunks in the woods and have never had an issue. I've never been sprayed. I think dogs get sprayed because dogs get curious and they run out, and dogs tend to smell things backsides, and that's where their scent glands are, and so they get sprayed, and that's that. But yeah, that's one of my tiny little skunk skulls, and it came out really nicely. So the next piece, I keep these in a bottle just because there's so many of them, and I'll take some out to show you. These are snake vertebrae that I processed myself. So I'll open the bottle up, hoping I can get it to focus. So this tiny, probably not, maybe, well, a little bit. So yeah, that's a skunk, excuse me, that is a snake vertebrae. This is actually from a pet snake I had for years and years and years and years and years and years. And then I, unfortunately, I feed my snakes frozen thawed mice, because I don't want to deal with live mice. I also deal with places that ethically euthanize the mice that I've researched. But prior to this place, I was using another company, and I had a very healthy snake, and then I fed it, and 3 days later it was dead. And it didn't have an upper respiratory infection, which is very common in snakes. And I think that there was something wrong with the rats. So I never used that place again, and I've never had a problem since with any of my pets. But I unfortunately lost a pet that I really, really loved. So I buried it, and here's a tiny little snake rib. They're so delicate and so fine. And then interestingly enough, an animal started to dig it up, and I decided to gather these, and I just cleaned them up and I put them all in the bottle. So that's from a pet. And then here is, it's in pieces, but I found this past summer, snake skin. Most of you probably know this, but just in case you don't, snakes shed their skin, and that's how they grow. And it doesn't hurt them. And these are the sheds. This isn't like snake skin where I skinned a snake. And I found this summer, and this is from a northern water snake. The scientific name is Nerodia cipodon. So I found that, which was a really fun find. And then from one of my pet snakes, which it's fallen apart because it's so old, but this is a shed from one of my pets, Carpathian. He is my 27, I think he's 27 years old. He is a rosy boa, and they're supposed to be really even-tempered. He's kind of a dick, but I still love him. So, you know, he's well loved and well taken care of. And so sometimes I'll throw those outside for the critters, and then sometimes I just, if it's a nice shed, I'll keep it. This one's a little beat up over time, but I'll probably put that outside this spring for the critters. Pill bugs, really, like if you put that under a rock, they'll devour that in no time, which is kind of fun, and it gives them a little boost. This is a cool stone I found at the ocean, and it has this like flat part on top. There, it's easier to see it that way, and it's got this lip. And I just think it's really lovely. And sometimes I'll put stones here or bones or something when I'm doing some ritual work. This lives on my altar. I know you saw this recently if you saw my kind of unboxing video, but this Black Phantom quartz that my friend Julie sent me recently, and she's just so beautiful. So that's living on one of my main altars, and it's funny, I tried to put it in one place and I set it down and it was like, no, I don't belong here. Why did you put me here? So I put them somewhere else, and it still didn't seem happy. And then I found its final place and was like, okay, I'm happy here. I'm sorry for the focus thing that's happening. I'm not sure why it's happening. I'll try to figure that out. And then the last piece, because this has gone on a long time, this is a prized possession. Again, I don't kill things. This is an older specimen I got from a very ethical seller. This is the only one they had, the only one they have had, and it came from an older collection. I felt comfortable with this piece, and I just really love it. I have looked for this animal skull for a very long time. I believe that I saw a wolf in New Hampshire several years ago now. It is said that we do not have wolves here. I don't want to get into a pissing contest about it. I've spent a lot of time in the woods. I know what a fox looks like. I know what a coyote looks like. I know what dogs look like. And I believe that it was a wolf that I saw. Again, I don't want to get into a pissing contest about it. And so I've always loved wolves. I think they're really beautiful animals. And I've always wanted a wolf skull as part of my sacred bone collection. Again, not to possess a thing, but because of my reverence for these animals. So I have been looking for them for years and haven't found a seller that I was comfortable with when I researched them. And the person I got this from, I also purchased another skull from, which I may show at some point. It is legal to own. It is a grizzly bear skull. It does have a tag on it. It was killed by a hunter a very long time ago. It is legal to possess. And I really love that piece, and I have great reverence for everything. Again, I don't collect these as things. These are sacred animals to me, and they have, I have nothing but love and respect and reverence. So it's not like I'm trying to collect all of the things. I have a lot of opportunities to purchase a lot of different bones, and I don't take them 99.9% of the time. It has to be an ethical seller. It has to feel right, spiritually speaking. So this piece, I've had probably not quite a year. And I saw the listing and I reached out to the seller and we communicated, and they had all the right answers in not a smarmy way, but they were very transparent, which I appreciated. So here is my gray wolf skull, and she is a real beauty. And I say she because this is an adult wolf, and it falls within the guidelines of being on the smaller side. So I believe it to be a female. So with wolves, they're very flat here. They have this ridge that comes out, but they're very flat here, unlike dogs or coyotes. And they have these beautiful long canines. The scientific name for these is Canis lupus. But you see, this is the tip of the tooth. It actually, if you can see this shading, goes up into here. Like their teeth go far up into their skull. And then this does come apart, the maxilla from the mandible. So this is the mandible. And you can see there's a broken tooth right here. And I believe because there's some smoothing over of that happened when the animal was still alive. It's not uncommon at all to find most of the skulls I have that I found, and some that I like I said, I've only purchased a couple, but a lot of the skulls I found have a broken tooth or some broken teeth or worn down. But you can see that this is kind of worn down as well. It's kind of hard to see, but it's got kind of a cavity in there. So that seems to be an old break prior, like while the animal was still alive. But this is just, they mean business for sure. And then this is the top. So this part is called the mandible. And then this part is called, I'm sorry, mandible maxilla. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. I'm still a little tired. But just such a beautiful creature. And then an interesting thing about mammals, so see these like honeycomb in there? That's called nasal turbinates. They're very spongy and kind of tender in there. This actually holds moisture. When the animal's alive, it holds moisture in its sinuses. It's often broken during the cleaning process, so this again is a really nice specimen. And I love her so much. I do not have her on my main altar. I have her in one of my bookcases. but she's near one of my main altars. And I have such love and reverence for this beautiful creature. I'm really thrilled that we get to be together and that she has a home here. Because it's really, she's extraordinary, and I'm sorry that she's no longer alive, but this specimen is old enough that this creature wouldn't still be alive in any event. Because like I said, it's important to me. The ethics behind this are deeply important. So that's part of my collection. I have a lot more stuff. I just want to share a few of the pieces that I hadn't shown yet. As ever, I appreciate y'all so much. You give me interesting things to think about or to look up, or to research, because I love to research things. You have lovely comments, and I appreciate them all. So I will be back in a few days with a new video. I've got some cool things planned, but I wanted to get a video out, and people had been asking about the bones, and some other things that I have around. I do not use these in ritual. The bones are around me all of the time, and they're sacred to me. There's something about not getting consent from an animal for ritual that just doesn't feel good to me. So that's that. I'm happy to answer any questions. I have more things in my collection. Some things I'm happy to share. Other things are too personal that I just don't really want to put it out there, or I think they're kind of divisive. I've talked about how I do have some human bones. That's really upsetting for people, which I can understand. Again, I have great reverence for those pieces as well. And but I also get it. So I'm not here to sugarcoat anything, but I'm not here to like upset anybody either, because we're all just doing the best we can at this point. So I'm going to stop rambling yet again. I'm going to say thank you, and I look forward to coming back in a few days. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you've got other things you'd like to see or questions about anything I've shown you, please reach out and comment. I always respond. And I hope you're all well. Please go find something beautiful today and just kind of soak it in. And I will be back with you soon. Bye.